You ever get that feeling that your online life is basically a house with all the doors and windows wide open? Well, today we're going to talk about network security. Think of it as the digital locks, the alarms, and yeah, even the guard dogs that keep your stuff safe. So let's jump right in. I mean, think about it. Every single time you shoot off an email or buy that thing you've been eyeing online or even just mindlessly scroll through your feed, you're basically sending little pieces of yourself out into this huge public space. It makes you wonder, right? Is your data really safe out there? So, what are we actually talking about here? At its heart, network security is just a bunch of policies and practices, right? Their whole job is to stop people from getting in who shouldn't be. It's all about building a safe little bubble for our digital lives so everything from your cat pictures to super important company secrets stays locked down. Okay, so if we're going to build a strong defense, we've got to know who we're up against. It's time to meet the bad guys. Let's pull back the curtain on some of the most common threats you'll find lurking out there. And here they are, our digital rogues gallery. You've got malware. That's kind of the catch-all term for nasty software like viruses. And then there are worms, which are particularly scary because they can copy themselves and just spread like wildfire. We've also got phishing. That's the art of tricking you. And of course, the infamous DDoS attack, which is just a brute force way to knock a website offline. We're going to zoom in on a couple of these big ones. All right, first up, phishing. And yeah, this image really nails it. The name is no accident. These guys are literally phishing for your personal data. And believe me, they use some pretty convincing bait to lure you in. And here's what that bait actually looks like. Check this out. You can see some classic red flags here. Look at the sender's email. It's just a little bit weird, right? The greeting is super generic, and notice how they're trying to create this sense of panic. They want you to click that link before you have a chance to think. Okay, moving on to a totally different beast, the distributed denial of service attack, or DDoS for short. Now, this one isn't about sneaking in and stealing your stuff. Nope. This is about making a whole lot of noise and causing chaos. The goal is to shut down a website completely. And how do they do it? They use what's called a botnet, basically an army of hijacked computers, to just flood the target with an insane amount of traffic. And this is the perfect way to think about it. Imagine thousands of people who aren't really customers all trying to cram into a store's front door at the same time. No one who actually wants to shop can get in, right? That's exactly what's happening. The server gets so overwhelmed by all this junk traffic that the real users just can't get through. And just like that, the site goes dark. So you've got these different kinds of attacks, but how do they actually work? Well, they don't just happen randomly. Attackers are always on the lookout for a weak spot, a vulnerability they can exploit. And honestly, these weak spots often aren't the super technical, complex things you might be imagining. You know, it's so easy to picture hackers as these geniuses in dark rooms doing all this incredibly complex stuff. But the truth, a lot of the time, the biggest vulnerabilities are just us. Simple human error. I mean, just look at the massive Equifax breach back in 2017. That whole mess happened because someone failed to apply a software patch for a problem they already knew about. It's a pretty stark reminder that you can have all the fancy tech in the world, but one simple mistake can bring it all down. All right. That's enough of the scary stuff. The good news is, we can fight back. So how do we do it? Well, it's time to meet the good guys, the guardians of the network. Let's talk about how we build our digital fortress. First up, and this is the big one, we have the firewall. This is your first line of defense. Seriously, just picture it as the big stone wall around your castle. It's what separates your safe, trusted network inside from the wild, untrusted internet on the outside. But a firewall is way smarter than just a brick wall. Think of it more like a very strict gatekeeper standing at the only entrance. It checks the ID of every single piece of data that tries to come in or go out. And if something looks fishy or doesn't have the right permissions, bam, blocked. You're not getting in. Now, this brings up a really key difference: detection versus prevention. You've got an intrusion detection system, an IDS. That's like a security camera. It sees something bad happening and it screams, hey, something's wrong, but it doesn't actually do anything about it. Then you have an intrusion prevention system, an IPS. This is your security guard. It doesn't just see the problem, it steps in and stops it cold, right then and there. Okay, so what happens when you're not safe at home? What if you're at a coffee shop using their public Wi-Fi? That's where a VPN, or a virtual private network, is your best friend. What it does is create this private, encrypted tunnel just for you, right through the public internet. So even if some creep is trying to snoop on the network, all they'll see is gibberish. It really is like putting your data inside an armored truck to drive it down a public road. All right, let's switch gears and talk about a piece of security that you use literally every single day, probably hundreds of times a day, without even thinking about it. It's like an invisible shield that's always on, protecting you while you browse.
You know that little lock icon you see up in the address bar of your browser?
Yeah, that's it. That's the invisible shield. When you see that lock, it means the website is using something called an SSL or TLS certificate. And that little certificate is what turns plain old HTTP into secure HTTPS. That extra S stands for secure. And trust me, it's a huge deal. It means that anything you type, your password, your credit card number, anything, is completely scrambled and unreadable to anyone trying to listen in. So how does that lock just appear? It happens in a fraction of a second through a process called the SSL handshake. And it's basically what it sounds like. It's a quick, secret digital handshake between your browser and the website server. They say hello, prove they are who they say they are, and then they agree on a secret code. From that moment on, everything you send back and forth is encrypted with that code. It's a super elegant and powerful way to make sure your conversation stays private. So let's recap. We've got these incredible digital fortresses, right? Powerful firewalls, super vigilant prevention systems, invisible shields encrypting everything. And yet, all of that amazing technology can be completely defeated by one single careless click. Which leads to the big question, doesn't it? After all this, with all these tools at our disposal, what if the weakest link is the person staring at the screen? What if it's us?